How much weight can we lose in a month? This is a burning question which is asked to me by most of my clients, and they want to know that because they are curious and they want to get started. But before we get into that numbers, I want to address a few mindset points. Now you can ask Google or ChatGPT for those numbers and they will give you a vague range. But in this video, you're going to learn the real struggles behind those getting to those numbers. So we're going to talk about why you are actually so curious about knowing those numbers. What are those numbers? What is required for you to do to get to those numbers? What you should not do when you're like trying to lose weight? And what are the questions we need to get curious about, right? Hi, I'm Dr. Rashmi Pawar, an OBGYN life coach who specifically helps PCOS women manage their minds to lose weight sustainably. So let's address the first topic. Why are we so curious about knowing how much weight we can lose in a month? Now, I used to wonder about this all the time because this is a typical diet mentality calculation where we expect ourselves that, okay, this is the timeline by which we want to lose weight. So we just have to manage our mind for this much time. And after that, it will be taken care of. But that is not how we want to look at weight loss. Because most of the time you will ask yourself, okay, how much weight do I need to lose in a month? So by that, how much time will it will take for me to reach my goal? And that's all fine, but our brain is just calculating like how long do I have to deprive myself. And I see this in so many clients. They will come on a session and then they will start calculating their numbers and then tell themselves that, okay, in like 8 months I need to reach my goal weight. But when that is not happening in the next week and the next week and the next week, they just like use that information to beat themselves up. Now, there's nothing wrong with it. We want to visualize and dream about our goal. It's just that we really go to that place where we are losing weight consistently each week as it happens once in our life, right? Like it doesn't work that way. Because when you started to lose weight, that means everything worked perfectly. Like you decided to create a plan and you followed that plan to the T, and then you saw the weight loss number. But for you to reach that place, it takes a long time. It doesn't happen so easily. So if a new client asks me this question, I can't just give them a number, right? Like even if they tell me their weight loss progression and stuff, it will always be a range because how much weight you lose in a month depends on when you actually start changing your eating habits, your sleeping habits, your movement habits. Or it depends on your relationship with food, or it depends on how strong your emotional eating habit is. So if we were to still get curious about what are these numbers, right? Like what is a range? How much is it okay? Like what is an acceptable way of weight loss? And I would say like most people would lose like around 1.5 kilo to almost 4.5 kilos of weight a month. I have had clients who have come and told me that she lost like 8 kilos in 2 months by just having this juice. It's not sustainable. We can't do that to ourselves. We can't just lose the weight and expect it stays there. It doesn't work that way. So that's why I'm giving a big range, 1.5 to 4.5 kilos. So there are clients who have lost weight eating healthy 4.5 kilo in a month, and in the next month they gain it all back because they stop doing the work, right? Because they use a lot of willpower to do the work. Whereas some clients, they would just be like, not be in a hurry. They'll be like, I want to do it in the most genuine and the most comforting way where I'm not in rush and I want to just take care of my body. And they might lose like 2 kilo a month. They're very patient, and the next month they might lose 1 kilo a month, and that's also fine. So it depends on your attitude as well around the weight loss. I have personally lost 5 kilos in 1 month, and that was just like a one time event. So my brain remembers that oh yeah, it's possible. All you have to do is, like, have no flour, no sugar, and do your intermittent fast and all of that, right? That's it. But that does not happen throughout your lifetime. That just happened like one time. We want to figure out a way to eat healthy so that we are healthy. We are not falling sick frequently. We have regular periods, for God's sake. And like maybe get pregnant naturally or don't fall so sick so easily. That's what we want to have. So don't go for like a vague number also, like having a number that 1.5 to 4.5 kilos a month weight loss. Don't go for that. It is different for every person. It might be different even for you in your lifetime. So you have to try weight loss, as in not just the number, but actually taking the actions, because we think magically that will happen, but it doesn't. Most of us are curious about our numbers because we are so desperate to know what will work and if it will work for us, because many of us have not even lost the weight in their lifetime. They just want to dream, right? So that brings us to the next topic. What is required for you to do to get to that weight loss range? Now, we visualize, we dream, we calculate when we will get to that goal, and many of us will get stuck with just the dreaming process. We will really hope it will happen magically. Like all the calculations have happened, but we just revert back to the way we were eating. So, this is especially typical for those who check their weight multiple times a day. Like they're just checking, they see how much they are when they eat, how much they are when they're fasted, how much they are when they pee, how much they are when they poop. Like it's just like a weird data collection which is happening, no interpretation. They just keep on checking because they're hoping something will work, but it doesn't. Nothing works magically in our body. We are going to see a lower number only when we change things. We change, like either reduce the amount of food that we are eating, or burn it a little bit more, or just eat foods which are not so carbohydrate rich, because that might reduce the insulin resistance. So I know I'm a mindset coach and I do talk about holding beliefs and changing beliefs, but beliefs that you need to practice need to be so powerful that they generate an emotion in your body which actually compels you to eat healthy, which compels you to take the actions required to lose weight, right? So the things that we might want to get started with are like planning a strategy to lose weight, keeping a daily record of what we are eating. Follow that strategy for 2 weeks and see if it's working. Review the whole strategy, how you have eaten, what has worked in this, what has not worked, and what you'll revise or like improvise for the next week. Be willing to experiment, right? So that is one way of looking at it, where you're planning, you're documenting what you write, what you eat, and you try to eat that, whatever you have planned. Now, another strategy that I like to do is, like, for those who are sort of burnt out from the whole planning process, is to trust yourself to eat the way your body demands, and stop eating when you're full. Listen to your body and see if you lose weight when you listen to your body. Many people are scared to even try trusting themselves, even when they are eating whatever they want. But they will not trust, like intentionally trust. No way. There's no way that she's gonna do that. So I want to offer, like, can we trust you? And like, can we trust that you will be fine, because you have been fine even with like whatever you have eaten. So but at least let's look at it, how you eat. So that is another strategy. Then the third one is, like, it might look just like, okay, it's not the food, let's look at other habits, right? It might look at like just drinking more water, or like focusing on that one habit first, where you're drinking a liter in the morning first, and then at least by like say 4 5 p.m. you're like drinking 2.5 liters of water is gone in your system, because many times we confuse hunger with thirst. We are actually thirsty. And also just hydrating enough can keep your brain from, like, we develop this something called a cerebral edema, where the brain develops a little swelling when it's dehydrated and you're irritable. There are lots of mood swings, so like just hydrating yourself can be helpful. So like sometimes I work with just one habit at a time, like drinking more water. Then once she figures out this process, then we go to the next process, which is like trying to walk a little every day, like 15-20 minutes of a walk every day. Like build that habit until it's like fully solidified. Then you go to the next habit of like reducing your food portions. Now it would demand you to not be in a rush when you're like looking at weight loss like this, right? Where you're not just like trying to go into a diet mentality where I need to just eat this is good food and this is bad food. Where you are like patient and you're like, I have all the time to do this work, and but I want to like really enjoy this whole eating experience and taking care of myself experience. So there is that way of also looking at it. Now you will have to decide which strategy might work with you best. Like I've already given 3 strategies, but many times clients, human beings, don't decide, because once you decide, that means you will have to get to work, and in case you don't get to work, that means that shame and guilt will come, which will make you feel bad. So people just generally don't decide. It's easier to indulge in confusion. But when you come into my coaching container, where I get hired as your coach, we decide, okay, tell me, what is a strategy you want to experiment with? Because for me, I know I can get you to your goal, but you're not letting yourself make those decisions. I will help you make those decisions. We will look at one decision that we have to like implement in the week, and then we work on finding out all the obstacles that can come in the way. We strategize for that. We try it on for a week. We meet again after a week and see how much of it worked, what did not work. Would you like to do the same strategy again in case it didn't work, like with like better strategies to overcome the obstacles that you faced? So that's all I do in a coaching container. We decide on a strategy. We work on honing down that habit over the week. And initially you will fail miserably because your brain has not figured that task out. Even if it seems simple, but it's not figured out. That shit is not in place, right? Um, so sometimes we will keep judging ourselves for like not doing something which is apparently easy, right? We don't want to do that. We want to be witnessed by someone else when we think this way. So that thinking needs to come out so we can interrupt it. So we need to find out what is a strategy that will work specifically for you in your PCOS life and your life situations that will cause you weight loss. We need to do the same work when we reach your goal weight, because we want to not just lose weight and forget everything, but like also figure out, okay, how does your mind work when you have actually lost the weight? Do you revert back to your old habits, right? So many of us won't even get started with making a strategy. And this brings us to the next topic, like what to not do when you're trying to lose weight. Now we have a long relationship with food and our weight, and we have tried and failed many times. Many times we are at a healthy weight, but still our brain thinks that no, this is not the number, I want to go to that other number. We do that obsessively. So I want to offer you some things not to do when it comes to getting a recommended range. Number 1, don't compare yourself with anyone. Don't compare yourself to your friend. Don't compare yourself to me, because we all have different stories. Don't compare that weight loss range with mine or with anyone else, because there is no upside in you doing that. You will just hurt yourself, because you are two different people. You can't compare yourself. Like even if you had an identical twin, you can't compare your weight loss with her, because she has different thinking process. Her brain has thought about different situations differently. Like even if in your childhood you had the same event, your brain would remember it differently, hers would do it differently. So it's because we have this capacity to think which makes us unique. So you can't compare. It's just not a fair comparison. So do not compare your story. Do not compare your weight loss progress with anyone. You can compare it to yourself, but even then, like, think about your life then, your life situation then, and think about your life situation now. So even now, it's not a fair comparison. So just don't compare. Don't compare and beat yourself up with it. Instead, use it to get inspired. Like that's all I would say. Like use comparison to get inspired so that you can keep at it. Second thing that you don't want to do is like don't be shocked when you fail for the first time when you start doing this strategy. You are 100% going to fail because it's not something which your brain has figured out. Now, some of us have figured it out in the past, and it's just that we have so much resistance over it with getting started and like this restrictive food planning and all of that, that we just don't want to get started again, right? So you're gonna fail in the beginning as your brain doesn't know a very comfortable way of doing these things, like a very safe way of trying to lose weight. It's not normal for you to suddenly not have chips at mealtime, right? So expect yourself to fail in the beginning. Now, if you keep failing again and again and don't see yourself getting started, you might need a coach to support you. You need someone else to look into what is going on in your mind, as we need to find out what are you thinking differently, right? Like there's something which is like keeping you in the same pattern. We need to find out what is that thought which is keeping you in the same pattern, and what would you like to think differently so that the pattern changes, right? We need to diagnose which thoughts are blocking you from that PCOS reversal. Lastly, don't do the planning in your head. It needs to be on paper 100% of the time. There is no way that our brain will remember our plan in the moment. Like sometimes it just has this plan in the moment, but actually something else was decided in the morning. So for accountability and to remember things is best if you do it on paper. So finally, I want to like offer you that the real question really remains, which is like, what am I going to do to succeed in my current meal, to succeed in my next meal? We need to meet ourselves where we are. We need to admit that we need to lose weight while we are going through an emotional turmoil, right? Like there's something happening in our mind when we are like constantly telling ourselves, you need to eat healthy because it's so easy to eat healthy. All you have to do is like not eat, right? But there is like so many things that are going on, ongoing, which is like your brain trying to just solve for, right? Like with stress. And you feel stressed because it's trying to calculate how to live in this world. And all that stress is suppressed with food. So you want to give yourself credit, like, okay, there is a lot of emotional stress which is happening, and I'm probably using food to cope with it, and there's nothing wrong if I just first of all want to look at what I'm stressed about, right? You have to accept that there is something going on which needs to be looked at. Now, your brain, if you don't look at it, right, if you don't accept it, your brain is always going to go to food to comfort you. Don't feel bad and don't feel guilty. No one wants to actually eat healthy food because, like, how that food, amazing, yummy, junk food, feels so good in our body for the moment, right? But if we just keep on doing this, we're gonna keep getting sick, right? Because we can't just keep eating these unhealthy foods. Weight loss is really an emotional and a spiritual process. So don't try to lose this weight in a rush over like that calculated period, right? Like 1.5 to 2 kilos if I lose in a month, so I might get to my goal in like 6 months. Yes. But rather commit to a long-term game plan where you are like trying to get a grip of this emotional eating, because you want to figure out a way of eating even when shit is happening in life, right? So I want to just end with like how I'm so grateful that I did this work with life coaching tools, because if I had just gone to the gym or just hired a dietitian, I would have lost the weight. It's just that all of it would have come back. Actually, I have done that in the past and it has come back and more. It's because I was not addressing the emotional issues. I started addressing the emotional issues when I detached food from my emotions. And that's where all the magic happened, because we have lots of dreams and desires and we constantly keep suppressing them with food. We don't want to have these desires. Like, I used to work in the night shifts, and every night I'll be like, I hate this. I want to sleep every night. Every night, like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., I'm just so sleepy. And that that feeling of like, I don't want to do this was so powerful. I used to feel so bad that I would eat at work, then I would come back and I keep eating, knowing that I have to go back to work. I don't want to do this, right? There was so much desire to not stay awake at night that I finally, when I removed the food from that habit, like I decided, okay, I'm going to eat healthy, then all of this came up, right? And then I was like, okay, it looks like I really want to sleep every night. And then I decided to find this other coaching profession, another career which I can do from my home, from the comfort of my home, where I can still continue to help people without traveling, without being away from my family, without being forced to like work in a specific time. I get to decide, right? So all of that was possible when I removed food from my emotion and I figured out, okay, what is it that is troubling me so much? So I'm so glad that I got started on my goal of weight loss, which I would have never imagined. I didn't even know such a thing existed, that you can manage your mind to lose weight. Figuring out how mindset coaching works, understanding how my specific mind works around food, and finding out why I was overeating every night. Why was I binging? Because there is a reason that is getting suppressed with food. So you will always have problems in your life, and your brain will always go unconsciously to food to feel better. It's just that there is an option to solve the problems and eat healthy. Because if we keep eating the food that we are surrounded with right now, we will have a bad health. We will suffer with PCOS and complications that come with it. We will have diabetes, hypertension, obesity, and all the mental illnesses. So please listen to that nagging part of your brain who has a weight loss goal. Get started with your weight loss journey. Get to know your own numbers up close and personal. Make peace with them. Keep at it. Figure out what does your brain really want, right? And if you can't do this on your own, which you can't, trust me, you need another human to look into these things. Be a witness of that. Please book a session with me, and let's see if mindset coaching is for you. All right, my friend, that's it for today. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.